It all starts just outside a doctor's office. The head doctor looks deeply worried as the main character's parents anxiously ask about their son's health. After a moment of hesitation, the doctor nervously asks, "What do you do for a living?" The father replies, "I'm a sumo wrestler, Yokozuna rank." When they ask about the health problem, the doctor gets so upset he throws the medical report on the ground. He tells them their son is healthy but shows them an x-ray. He says the boy is so fat he looks like a ball in the scan. The doctor explains this is probably genetic. The boy's metabolism turns everything he eats into fat. He says the boy will probably never lose weight and will get bullied at school. After hearing this, the boy gets traumatized. He crushes his snack packet and promises to lose weight. From that day, he works out every single day. But instead of losing weight, he keeps gaining more. At age 7, he weighs 83 kilos. He tries swimming and other exercises. At age 9, he weighs 120 kilos. By age 11, he weighs 180 kilos and is so big that when cars are racing, he runs past them causing chaos. Even at KFC, he only eats salad and raw foods, never junk food. He climbs mountains and lifts weights, but nothing works. Cut to the present, a boy is playing video games in class. A girl tells him to pay attention and asks if he isn't scared of the teacher. He laughs and says the teacher can't see him because he sits behind the protector of all men, Big Daddy Shin Tian. The main character is now 16 years old and weighs 420 kilos. He's so big he covers half the back of the classroom. Students behind him just relax because they can't be seen. The main character thinks that even though the doctor said he'd be lonely, he actually has friends. Students call him Big Daddy and pay him money to protect them from bullies. They see him as their protection. A guy gives him a Snickers bar and asks him to sit in front during the next class. The main character says he's on a diet and will only drink bitter melon juice or celery juice. The guy says he already prepared those drinks. While drinking, the main character feels annoyed. He thinks he sees them as friends, but they see him like a daddy. Suddenly, someone throws a football at his face. Some guys make fun of him and tell him to give them money because they want to buy something. The main character looks down at them calmly. They start saying he should give them his money if he doesn't want to get beaten up. Students nearby get worried because these guys are third-grade students from the boxing club. The main character sighs and walks away. He borrows a metal ball from a girl and throws it at the football goal. It makes a big dent in the iron frame. The bullies get scared. When he picks up another metal ball, they run away telling him to watch his back. The main character thinks that his size and power make him strong but also lonely. After running away, the blonde bully says this is humiliating and they need to get revenge or their pride will be destroyed. Another guy says the main character looks like a tank and isn't even human. The blonde guy says there's another way to get revenge. The scene moves to a gym where the main character is lifting weights. Outside, the bullies watch him. They found out he works out here every day. One bully wonders why someone so strong trains secretly every day. The gray-haired guy tells the other that if they make Big Daddy angry again, they might not escape. He says he can't beat him directly but can at least provoke him. He takes out chains and locks from his backpack and locks all the gym exits. The guy lights a cigarette, walks outside, and throws the cigarette on the ground before leaving. Inside the gym, the main character takes out a portable pool and other stuff from his bag. He blows up the pool with his mouth and fills it with water. He puts a wooden board on the water and lies on it. He marks the water level with a cutter. After getting out, he puts metal balls on the board to match the same water level as his weight. Then he weighs all the metal balls on a scale. The result shows he weighs about 421 kilos, like an elephant. He starts crying because he gained another kg. Then he notices fire spreading in the gym. He wonders how it started burning. He poured all the water from his pool on himself. He starts banging on the doors to break them. He finally breaks through but collapses outside, thinking he's going to die. The whole gym burns down with only rocks left. Suddenly, a hand comes out from the rocks. Miraculously, the main character is now completely skinny. When he looks in a nearby mirror, he's shocked. At first, he thinks this is someone else and asks if they were also trapped in the fire. He grabs the mirror angrily and it breaks, cutting his hand. When he touches his face, he's shocked that he's really handsome and this is really him. He hears police cars and fire trucks coming. He realizes he's completely naked at a fire scene and can't be seen like this. He finds a flag to cover himself. The scene moves to city streets where people are walking. The main character runs past two girls who, instead of getting angry, are amazed and surprised. He passes old ladies dancing on the street who also fall in love with him. A man on a phone call in his car suddenly sees the naked main character running next to his car. He crashes into a tree. He starts crying and says his viewers only want Mad Dog Manhwa videos and don't watch his other content. The main character keeps running but gets completely surrounded by girls and women. He wonders if this is the highest level of male attractiveness. The women chase him asking if he's showing youth spirit. Some say he's perverted but really handsome at the same time. They ask for his contact information. The main character feels embarrassed. He remembers his past when students surrounded him, but this feels different yet similar. He planned to sneak home but people keep chasing him. Suddenly he feels very hungry, but doesn't know why. The scene moves to the school faculty lounge. a teacher gets a phone call from the main character's parents saying their son is sick. The teacher is shocked and wonders how this is possible. What virus could make someone like the main character sick? He searches biohazard T virus on Google, wondering if humanity will go extinct. The scene moves to the main character's house. His laptop shows searches for rapid weight loss. He sits on the couch watching an idol show. The performers start dancing and the main character copies every single move they do on TV. He's surprised he can do all the dance moves and his body feels so light. Even compared to the idols, he looks attractive. While looking in the mirror, he wonders if this is really how he looks when he loses weight. He wonders if it's a dream, but the feelings are clear that it's reality. He laughs, feeling relieved that it's real and he's himself. Then his stomach starts rumbling, and he feels very hungry. On the ground are empty fast food and snack packages. He already ate all the food in his house, and this is his 5th meal of the day. The scene opens outside a hospital. Inside, the doctor can't believe the main character looked different yesterday. He points at him and asks if this is really the same person. The main character says yes. The doctor says he feels challenged and orders a full body checkup including height and CT scan. After 2 hours, the results come out and the doctor is in disbelief. He tells the main character that his blood pressure, cholesterol, and every protein level are all normal. Everything is at the median level. The doctor says if he hadn't seen the main character's medical history himself, he would think he's being tricked. But he has to say the main character is totally healthy. So healthy, it's unreal. The main character asks if this is good or bad. He lost all his weight overnight and keeps craving food. He spent $3,800 on this checkup just to learn he's healthy. The doctor says what does he expect? In 2 hours, the main character has made his 40 years of medical experience useless. Half an hour later, the main character walks on a crossroad thinking his checkup was useless. Ever since the night he was burned, he keeps feeling hungry. He looks at 2 girls but is actually looking at a roll in one girl's hand. He feels so hungry like there's a black hole in his stomach. As he keeps walking, he notices food in every person's hands. He feels hungrier and hungrier. The hunger gets so bad he starts running and drooling from his mouth. He thinks he's so hungry his stomach is eating itself. If this continues, he might lose his mind and become a cannibal. To stop his hunger, the main character went to BFC restaurant. The girl asked him what he would like to order. The main character slammed his hand on the counter and said to give him all the food the store has and double the servings for each item. Then he went to a different store and asked them to give him whatever food they have in their store. He moved to another store where he ate all the food, then went to a different store where he also ate all their food. Finally, he arrived at his home. He was full and had also collected as much food as he could for later. Then the main character remembered his past when he was eating a burger. He asked his parents what it was and said it tasted so good. His mother replied that as long as he was happy, it was fine. The main character's father stood up and came near to him. He said the main character had to remember its name. It's called junk food. In the present, the main character started crying, saying that he hadn't eaten junk food ever since that day. In order to lose weight, he ate only vegan food for 10 years. He kept crying, saying that he missed his junk food so much. After some time, the main character was sitting and wondering. He was full right now and had stored more food for later. Based on his appetite from earlier, he probably had enough food to last a few days, but it was barely enough to last a single day. Feeling sad, the main character poured Chinese medicine for weight loss and grabbed the jar. He thought that when he was fat, he was too afraid to eat anything. Now that he's skinny, his appetite has increased nearly 20 times. The only way was to use some unproven Chinese medicine and hope it would relieve his hunger. As he held the jar for too long, it became too hot. Suddenly, the jar slipped from his hands, making all the liquid fall on himself. He was shocked that he only let go of the jar because he heard water boiling. After getting soaked, he realized he didn't feel any heat. What was even weirder was that the jar was not on the stove, so how did the water boil? As he looked at his hand, he took his body temperature to check. When he touched the thermometer, it exploded. Then he grabbed a barbecue thermometer. He was really shocked to see his body temperature, which was 230 degrees Celsius. After that, the main character took 3 days off to run tests on his body and discovered 3 major changes. His height shrank from 220 centimeters to 187 centimeters, and his weight dropped from 480 kilograms to 62. His appetite became 20 times larger, and his basal metabolic rate skyrocketed. After eating, his hands turned scorching hot, rapidly burning calories. If he didn't eat, extreme hunger kicked in, and his hands continued heating up uncontrollably. His body had also become completely immune to heat. Then he got a notification on his mobile phone about very high maintenance costs. After a week, the main character finally went to his school. 2 guys were having a conversation about Big Daddy, then they suddenly got surprised after seeing something. One guy was sad, thinking that Big Daddy hadn't come to school yet. But he got surprised after seeing that everyone on the balcony was looking at a slim and handsome person. The main character thought that this is what happens when a person becomes good-looking. All the women are attracted and men are amazed. Unfortunately, they asked the main character who he was. In the end, nobody recognized him. The main character got frustrated, thinking that he just wanted to die. He felt defeated because when you want to show off after losing weight, but nobody notices, it hurts. Then someone called out, saying, "Wait, are you?" As he turned around, it was a girl. She said, "Could it be you are the guy from my dream last night?" After hearing that, he got frustrated and said he was Big Daddy Shin Tian. This shocked everyone. They didn't believe him, so he started telling them all the things they had faced in the past, about getting bullied and one guy getting ganged up on by 17 men. Then he told all the other students their secrets. After that, they believed him and said it was really Big Daddy Shin Tian. All the girls fell in love with the main character because he had become so handsome. The girls started calling him daddy. The other boys started crying, saying that all the girls were gone now and they were going to be single from now on. In the classroom, the teacher told everyone that Big Daddy was back. The whole class was happy after the main character's arrival. The main character went to his seat. As the lesson started, the guy behind the main character took out his monitor and controller and started playing games. The girl behind that guy started dancing. All the students at the back started doing their own things instead of studying, but there was one student who was frustrated. But this time was different. The girl next to the gamer boy told him to pay attention to and asked if he wasn't scared of being caught by the teacher. He said, "Who's going to catch me?" That teacher can't catch him because he's sitting behind the symbol of freedom, the class guardian, Big Daddy Shin Tian. But he forgot that the main character wasn't in his huge form anymore. He was also slim and short now. As he made eye contact with the teacher, the other students quickly got back to their seats and acted normal. Then they started crying, saying, "Why did this have to happen? It's like some woodcutter cut down their freedom and home." One girl started crying that she wasn't allowed to dance at home, and this was the only place she could chase her dream. Then the main character looked at her and waved. As she was crying, she started saying that the main character was so handsome. During the afternoon break, the same guy from earlier was standing there. The blonde-haired guy told him that Big Daddy Shin Tian was back and asked if he would kill them. He got scared after hearing that. He grabbed the blonde-haired guy, saying how would he know? He didn't even know that the gym would catch fire that night. Then the blonde-haired guy said that they would be caught eventually because they left their locks behind. The main character might come to hunt them down. The guy said that in that case, they would have to kill him. The blonde-haired guy said he would rather watch him jump off the building than see him get beaten up alive. The gray-haired guy told him that he was all prepared. The blonde-haired guy asked if he could not participate in this one. The other guy said that even if he doesn't participate, when the main character finds out why the fire started, he will still get beaten to death. Then he started crying and went to the corner, saying that if he could start over, he would be a good person from the beginning. The other guy told him to shut up and said he was all prepared now. Then he asked if he had seen the main character. He said he was now all skinny and people were saying that he might have gotten liposuction. This was their opportunity. He told him that in fights, weight is very important and now the main character was probably in his weakest form. They could finish him now. Then they went to some old shed. The blonde-haired guy asked where he had brought him. The other guy replied to just watch. In front of them, there were a few thugs sitting. The gray-haired guy told him these guys were the most brutal gangsters from the nearest 20th Street. Then the leader of the gang asked the gray-haired guy if this was the reason why he called them here. Another gang member also told him that he better have a good reason to call them here. If he couldn't satisfy them, he would be the one to bleed. Then he said he called them here for a reason, and that reason was that they needed to beat Big Daddy Shin Tian. The gangster leader fell down from his throne, saying, "Do you want us to get our asses kicked? Didn't you call us here to go eat hot pot?" The other guy also started trembling, saying that he thought they were going to eat crabs. That's why he brought his knife. The gray-haired boy tried to calm the terrified gang members. "Come on, Big Daddy Tian isn't actually going to eat us," he said. "He'll probably throw them a party once we beat him." But the gang leader suddenly dropped to the ground. "I'm out," he said flatly. "This whole thing is a scam." The reluctant member explained that fighting Big Daddy Tian would set him up for life financially, but he had encountered the legendary fighter before when Tian was defending a bullied student. During that encounter, Big Daddy Tian had grabbed him and broken his arm, leaving a lasting impression of terror. Another gang member with a knife became distressed at hearing Big Daddy Tian's name, and the group began crying, saying they wouldn't risk their lives. The knife-wielding member tore off his shirt to show scars from a previous encounter, describing how Big Daddy Tian had pinned him against a wall and scraped off his tattoo. Other members joined in the crying, asking why they had to face such a cursed opponent. The gray-haired boy then showed them a recent photo of Big Daddy Tian, but the gang members initially refused to look at it. When they finally saw the photo, they were shocked to see a thin, almost frail-looking young man. The gray-haired boy explained that this was indeed Big Daddy Tian after he had been set on fire, underwent surgery, and lost significant weight. The gang fell silent, processing this dramatic transformation. The knife-wielding member asked their leader what they should do. After consideration, the leader decided they might have a chance and proposed a simple plan. They would gang up on the weakened Big Daddy Tian. The scene shifted to school, where a blonde-haired student nervously approached Big Daddy Tian's desk. He was tasked with placing a fake love letter to lure their target, believing that no young man could resist such romantic bait. As he placed the letter under the desk, he was surprised to discover hundreds of genuine love letters already there. Panicking about his deception, he gathered all the letters in a bag and took them away to burn them. As he walks, he realizes he can never be a good person after doing something like this. Later, when Big Daddy Tian returned to his desk and found the remaining letter, he read it and became visibly frustrated. The contents clearly irritated him. After school, Big Daddy Tian found himself facing several thugs on the street. Despite their unpleasant looks and threatening demeanor, he showed no fear. The gray-haired gang member mocked him, saying he must not have predicted that his date with a beautiful girl was just a delusion designed to lure him there. He declared that this would be Big Daddy Tian's last day. Big Daddy Tian calmly responded that he had known it was a trap, pointing out that only someone like the gray-haired thug could write a love letter that sounded more like a challenge. Looking at the familiar faces, he asked if their skin was itching for a beating. The gray-haired member tried to boost his crew's morale, calling them seasoned killers and questioning why they were acting scared. However, the gang members were so terrified they seemed ready to wet themselves. The gang leader and knife-wielding member nervously claimed they were just out for a walk and happened to be passing by. When the gray-haired member insisted they were there to beat up Big Daddy Tian, the others quickly covered his mouth, asking if he was tired of living and warning him not to drag them into a suicide mission. Big Daddy Tian, sensing their fear, decided to demonstrate his power by slamming his fist against a nearby wall. However, instead of the expected impact, he felt intense pain and heard cracking sounds. His hand began bleeding, and he quickly covered it. He was shocked by how much the impact hurt him, wondering if he had become weaker after losing weight. The realization hit him that he was in a volatile situation. Good looks meant nothing compared to strength. He reflected that people only appreciate strength when they've lost it, and he began crying as he remembered his former powerful self. Despite his internal struggle, Big Daddy Tian maintained an intimidating aura that kept the gang members scared. However, their boss noticed something was wrong, observing that if Big Daddy Tian were at full strength, the wall would have shattered. He suspected that their legendary opponent had indeed become weaker. The boss ordered the gray-haired member to attack first, since he was the one who had led them into this situation. Nervously approaching Big Daddy Tian, the gray-haired thug claimed it was all a misunderstanding and that he didn't want to provoke anyone. He extended his hand, saying he was there to congratulate Big Daddy Tian on his discharge from the hospital and asking for forgiveness. However, he had a hidden plan. When he got a good grip on Big Daddy Tian's hand, he would increase the pressure to test his strength. As Big Daddy Tian looked at the extended hand, he noticed his own hand was steaming with heat. When he grasped the thug's hand, the man immediately began screaming in pain, unable to break free from the burning grip. The other gang members, witnessing this display of power, fled in terror, believing Big Daddy Tian was still as dangerous as before. They blamed the gray-haired member for leading them into a death trap as they ran away, leaving him lifeless on the ground. Big Daddy Tian looked at his steaming hand, feeling completely exhausted. The struggle had nearly made him lose consciousness, and he almost fell to the ground, wondering if he had really become this weak and what he would do in the future. Eventually, he collapsed. After some time, a girl appeared, standing over the unconscious Big Daddy Tian. She appears to be holding a mysterious, magical-looking circular object. Big Daddy Tian found himself in a water-like environment where a figure appeared before him. When he asked who the figure was, it replied that it was someone from his soul who had accompanied him for 1,000 years. Big Daddy Tian gave the figure an annoyed look. The figure complained that he was ruining the mood of their first conversation in a millennium. The figure explained that it had only appeared because Big Daddy Tian was at a life and death stage, but said it would explain more when he was alone and awake. Big Daddy Tian opened his eyes to find the girl giving him something soft to drink. When he suddenly burst out at her, she apologized, explaining that she hadn't found any other way to wake him up. She had noticed that his body trembled whenever she called out the names of various foods. She identified herself as the girl who had asked him something in the hallway earlier. She explained that earlier, she had found him unconscious in the alley and was about to call emergency services 119 when his body started making rumbling sounds. Panicking, she brought him to the nearest convenience store. No matter how much she tried to wake him by shaking him, he remained unconscious. However, she discovered that whenever she shouted food names, burger, pizza, chicken, fried foods, his body would tremble. Realizing he had fainted from hunger, she bought a large Coke and poured it down his throat. Big Daddy Tian jokingly accused her of having fun with his unconscious body, then thanked her, saying that if anyone gave her trouble in the future, she should tell him. As he prepared to leave, the girl called out, telling him to eat properly, not starve himself, and take care of his health. This made Big Daddy Tian blush. The girl then asked him to add her on WeChat, which he agreed to do. That night, back at his house, Big Daddy Tian remembered the dream he'd had when he collapsed. He recalled hearing a voice that seemed familiar from when he had been engulfed in flames during the fire incident. The voice had promised to meet him when he was alone. Suddenly, his chest began burning, and the spirit from his dream materialized again. Big Daddy Tian looked at him with anger, thinking the scene resembled something from classic web novels. He grabbed a wooden stick and demanded that the spirit explain what it was in 3 sentences. threatening to beat it for the experience. The spirit introduced itself, saying it was born with fire, awakened with fire, and was now at Big Daddy Tian's side again. Its name was Zhongli, also known as Zhurong, and it had been slumbering within Big Daddy Tian as his companion from 1,000 years ago. When Big Daddy Tian pointed out that this was more than 3 sentences and still didn't explain what kind of being it was, the spirit called him impatient and revealed that it was actually the Lord from Big Daddy Tian's past life. It was a lingering soul bound to his current self, meaning it had witnessed everything he had done recently, including his dancing in front of mirrors. The spirit explained that it was indeed Big Daddy Tian's companion, but not from this life, rather from a past era where Big Daddy Tian had been its wife. As he approached the MC, Big Daddy Tian immediately attacked with his wooden stick, sending the spirit flying. The spirit protested, but the MC told him that those 3 heart-piercing sentences had given him too much of a shock. Big Daddy Tian wondered if his current body could punch through walls, prompting the spirit to ask him to calm down. The spirit admitted it was also in shock, having just awakened to find that its former wife was now a man. It reminisced about calling Big Daddy Tian sweetie every day in their past life. The word sweetie triggered a flash of memory for Big Daddy Tian. He saw scenes from his past life where the spirit, in human form, would bring his wife breakfast, give her monthly wages, and tell her to wake up early. The wife would tell him to get out, and he would comment on how cute her temper was. The memory continued, showing the wife waking up to meet another man who had been hiding in a wardrobe. She would hug this other man, saying she missed him, and they would kiss passionately. Seeing Big Daddy Tian's shocked reaction, the spirit asked if he remembered something about their past, noting that while his past life had nothing to do with his current one, the memories were still significant. Big Daddy Tian wondered why he suddenly felt pathetic. The spirit began explaining what had happened. When Big Daddy Tian lost weight, his hands would sometimes feel burning hot and emit smoke because his natal flame resided within his body. The spirit revealed that it had been one of the oldest fire cultivators in the world, known as the Fire God. In their past era, a mountain near their village had collapsed, and rocks fell from the sky. The villagers came to the Fire God for help. He told them not to panic and that he would handle the situation. He chanted magical words while pointing his fingers toward the falling rocks, but nothing happened. Instead, he was crushed by a large rock. Before dying, he placed his natal flame within his beloved wife. He told her that as long as his natal flame stayed within her, touching fire would not harm her, and his remaining soul could observe and potentially awaken this way, allowing him to continue loving his sweetie. However, she didn't understand what this meant before he died. 3 months later, his wife was looking exhausted and desperately eating anything she could find. The natal flame burns everything and requires a constant supply of fuel, absorbing the host's energy. When there is no fat left to burn, it will consume the heart, lungs, and other vital organs. Resources were scarce in their era, so his sweetie didn't survive long. After hearing this tragic story, Big Daddy Tian pointed out that there were many things wrong with this situation. He tried to comfort the Fire God, saying that his wife hadn't truly loved him, and that he shouldn't be sad. The spirit replied that he still missed her and that she had a nice body. As he approached Big Daddy Tian, the current incarnation backed away, calling him crazy and asking why he was getting closer. The Fire God apologized, saying his past life wife had nothing to do with the current Big Daddy Tian. He explained that although Tian had been reborn many times, he'd never been burned by fire, until now. Frustrated, Tian said the explanation made him want to punch the spirit. He had awakened, and the natal flame within Big Daddy Tian had ignited, which was the reason for his body transformation. Simply put, Big Daddy Tian's body was the furnace, and the natal flame was the kindling. The heat released from the burning was emitted from his hands, and the fuel was his own body. When Big Daddy Tian asked if there was a way to turn off this broken furnace, the Fire God said that since he had dared to leave the flame behind, he naturally had a way to control it. This made Big Daddy Tian happy, but then the spirit admitted that he had forgotten the method, being just a wisp of his remaining soul after 1,000 years. Big Daddy Tian threatened to beat the spirit again, demanding that he leave his body along with the ghost fire. However, his stomach suddenly started rumbling loudly. He hadn't eaten anything for 2 hours since getting home and was on the verge of fainting from hunger again. Checking his phone balance, he discovered he didn't have enough money for food. Lying on the ground, he called for the Fire God to bring his food from the table, because he was starving and might die. The previous day, he had ordered takeout foods, and Big Daddy Tian had eaten all the food in his house. Now, finally feeling alive again, the spirit asked if he seemed very excited about the fragrant meal. Big Daddy Tian responded that the malatang broth was the reason he was alive, and if he ever died of starvation, it would be the Fire God's fault. The spirit affectionately called him Tian Tian, prompting Big Daddy Tian to demand that he stop using that disgusting nickname. He suggested they be brothers in this life instead of husband and wife, or perhaps father and son, warning that if the spirit ever called him Tian Tian again, he would become his father and call the spirit his dog son. After a moment of silence, the spirit gave a thumbs up and agreed to be good brothers. Big Daddy Tian spent an hour quietly huddled in a corner. completely processing all the information about this disaster. He calculated that with an appetite far exceeding that of a normal person, equivalent to 71 steamed buns dipped in malatang broth, his food expenses would exceed 10,000 yuan. His parents, who were currently overseas, maintained strict control over his finances and likely wouldn't support him if he asked for money for food. Faced with the need for both money and food, he considered becoming a food streamer as a viable option, but before he could start earning income from that, he didn't know how he would manage his next meal. His phone buzzed with a message. The fire god asked about the glowing and noise-making box in his pocket. It was a message from the girl who had helped him earlier. She asked if he remembered her. She was the one who had poured the coke down his throat. She wanted to ask him for a favor and said they could discuss it at school tomorrow. She mentioned she would pay him and even provide meals. Reading the word meal, Big Daddy Tian quickly agreed to meet up and started running. The fire god asked where he was going, and Big Daddy Tian replied, survival. Big Daddy Tian met the girl at a restaurant, apologizing for calling her so late, but explaining that his situation was very critical. The girl said she would get straight to the point, and Big Daddy Tian asked if someone was bullying her. Instead, she told him she wanted him to come work at her house. Big Daddy Tian was surprised by this proposal. She explained that her family owned a gym, and she had been watching him since he started school. She wanted him to work for her for a while and take promotional photos, before and after weight loss comparison shots. She offered to give him anything he wanted. Big Daddy Tian told her he didn't need money. Food would be just fine. The next day, outside the gym, Big Daddy Tian stood next to a poster showing his previous appearance alongside his new look. A crowd of people had gathered outside the gym, and the girl was shocked, having never seen so many people. It looked like all the women in the area had gathered there. Looking more closely, less than half were actually inquiring about signing up for gym memberships. The other half were simply drooling over Big Daddy Tian's appearance. One girl asked if Big Daddy Tian could be her personal trainer. He responded that he wasn't quite ready to be a coach, but would do his best. After she signed up, the girl rushed to fill out the registration form, saying she would sign up for a 3-year membership. Another girl asked if she could touch his chest muscles because she needed to understand the fitness results, blushing as she spoke. He pulled her into his arms, making her blush. Big Daddy Tian found this familiar. Having experienced similar situations before, it reminded him of how boys at school would throw themselves at his chest and call him daddy, except now it was happening with girls. The girl rushed to the registration desk, declaring she would sign up for a 5-year premium membership. By noon, the gym owner asked Big Daddy Tian what he wanted to eat, mentioning they had gained over 300 new members that morning. Looking at the menu, he told her he wanted 5 servings of everything. When she asked if he was trying to get fat again, he also asked her to pack the rest to go. He asked her to provide a training room because he needed to train his body. Big Daddy Tian thought to himself that now that his food problem was solved, he needed to get stronger and take the initiative. Back at school, there were 2 major legends regarding fighting. One was Big Daddy Tian himself, known as the Fat Invincible. The second was older and involved not a student, but the school's dean of students. A girl was apologizing for being late, explaining that she had stayed up too late studying the night before. The dean responded that she shouldn't rush and needed to fix her appearance before he could let her in. Even though being late was being late and she would still get a demerit, he told her not to stay up late anymore because she was his precious student. This was Lin Pochin, 28 years old. He then noticed another student trying to slip by, pointing out that it was already 10 o'clock and the student was late. When he asked about the student's injured hand, the frustrated student said he had just fallen and scraped it, asking to be let in. Lin Pochin observed that it wasn't a scrape but a burn, asking how it happened and telling the student not to lie about it being from a fight. With a creepy expression, he said it looked like someone had hurt his precious student. The scene shifted to an exam room where students were taking a test. Among them was a student who looked like a gangster, and he was cheating. When the exam teacher spotted him and asked him to hand over his cheat sheets, the student responded aggressively, asking who the teacher thought he was and grabbing the teacher's collar. The teacher calmly repeated his request while gripping the student's hand. The student was shocked to find that the teacher's grip was so strong he couldn't break free. Frustrated, he threw down his exam sheet, declared the exam was worthless, and said he would meet the teacher outside as he left. The teacher simply watched him go. It turned out that this cheating student was the brother of one of the gang members. After school that day, the gangster arrived and asked if the teacher was the one who had confronted his brother. When the teacher confirmed this, the gangster suggested they go somewhere else rather than shed blood at the school gates. However, things didn't turn out as the gangster expected. By the time students witnessed the incident and called the police, the scene they arrived at was shocking. The teacher was calmly grading exam papers while covered in blood, with groaning bodies scattered on the ground around him. Out of 23 people total, 18 had suffered fractures and 3 were seriously injured. Only 2 people were completely unharmed. Amidst the groans of pain, the blood-covered teacher continued grading papers, and at his feet, the student who had threatened revenge was trembling in fear. When the police arrived, they were frightened by the scene. The teacher smiled at them and said they had arrived, apologizing and explaining that he had been threatened and couldn't help but go a little overboard. From that day on, Lin Pochin became a legend at the school. In the present, Big Daddy Tian was training and boxing at the gym. Back at school, the gray-haired gang member was thinking of a way to avoid his current situation when the teacher put a hand on him and asked if he was a third-year student. The gang member realized there was no way to fool the teacher, then thought of an idea. What if he used this teacher to get his revenge? While trembling, he asked if the teacher remembered a student named Big Daddy Tian from the second years. After hearing the name, the teacher said he had taught second-year students, but wasn't familiar with that particular one, though he had a slight impression of someone chubby. The gray-haired gang member became excited. The gang member then said he was just asking casually, but mentioned that his hand was really burned, and it was by someone with the same name and surname but the opposite build. He claimed this person had threatened him, pretended to shake his hand and burned him unconscious with something he had concealed. He began crying, saying he was terrified and that just thinking about it made him tremble. He claimed he hadn't been able to do homework for days because of the trauma. The teacher told him it was all right, not to worry about the homework, and that he would talk to his homeroom teacher. As the gang member was leaving, the teacher called out, asking him to help find this Big Daddy Tian. Back at the gym, Big Daddy Tian was exhausted from exercising. The spirit proudly said to the MC, "Look at your current physical condition. It's incredible. No back pain, no leg pain. You can throw hundreds of punches without even getting winded. That's because my life flame burned away all the unnecessary, unreasonable parts of your body. My dear, your physical condition now stands far above that of your peers." Daddy Tian mentioned that he had taken a week off to adapt to his part-time job and experiment with the gym equipment. However, no matter what he did, it was clear that he was struggling significantly. He grabbed the fire god, saying not to joke around. He used to be able to break punching bags with just one punch. While being shaken, the fire god said that while Big Daddy Tian might be weaker now, he had become much more handsome. The teacher from the school was now standing outside the gym. As he entered, he saw Big Daddy Tian struggling to lift weights to his shoulders. This was clearly his limit. Big Daddy Tian was frustrated by his weakness. He was just too skinny now, whereas in the past he could easily lift heavy weights. He thought that this was all meaningless. The teacher approached and grabbed the weight Big Daddy Tian was struggling with. While easily lifting it, he smiled and said that Big Daddy Tian was quite weak and didn't look like a bad guy either. The teacher approached the student and asked if he was Shitian. When the student confirmed and asked why he was asking, the teacher quickly dropped his weights and prepared to attack. His punch nearly hit Shitian's face, but the MC quickly blocked it with his hand. Still, the impact sent him sliding backward and his hand began to bleed. The teacher was surprised. That punch should have broken his nose. He thought, such fast reflexes. Is he a veteran? Meanwhile, Shitian thought about what kind of power this was. Just from that one punch, his arms felt like they'd been hit by a car, and he nearly lost consciousness. Shitian asked who the man was, to which the teacher calmly replied, "I am retribution. For all the people you've hurt." Shitian narrowed his eyes and responded coldly, "So you're one of their accomplices. There's nothing more to say." Before he could act, the spirit beside him urged him to wait and channeled magical energy into his hands. The teacher noticed smoke rising from Shitian's fists as he swiftly tied his necktie around his hand. Shitian then dashed forward and clashed fists with the teacher in a thunderous blow. As they fought, Shitian recalled a moment back when he first decided to lose weight. He had spent years training in different martial arts, but never found a worthy opponent. There had been a student in the past who loved to challenge newcomers. He boasted that whenever someone new arrived, he'd spar with them just to beat them up and make them cry. He once told Shitian the same thing, confident that even someone fat like him would break. But Shitian had grabbed him by the head and stopped him cold. Later that day, as the teacher was quietly eating soup, a student rushed in to report something unexpected. Their senior, Long Batian, had been beaten and was crying outside the classroom. The teacher remained calm, telling them not to panic and to return to training. "I'll handle the new student myself. Just a small matter," he said. Shitian sent the teacher flying with just one hit, and the teacher told him to go easy. He wondered how Shitian could have so much power with such poor physical form. Shitian responded that he was already going easy on him. From that moment, Shitian realized he would probably never find an opponent in his life unless he became weaker and thinner. Yet now, for the first time, he had encountered adversity. Shitian was like a small boat struggling with all his might to stay afloat in the storm of his fists. As Shitian struggled to stand, the teacher stopped and praised him, saying it had been 10 minutes and he was still standing. He was starting to admire Shitian. Shitian told him to shut up because he had come out of nowhere looking for a fight, beaten him up, and then inexplicably praised him. He asked how much more the teacher was trying to piss him off. After sparring a few more blows, Shitian began to notice something odd. Whenever he went in for an attack, the teacher would immediately drop his own strike, retreat, and dodge. Determined, Shitian lunged forward, ready to land a blow. But as they fought, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. A spark of excitement. It was as if he had finally found what he'd been looking for all these years. With a grin, he shouted, "Let's see who falls first." Suddenly, the door burst open. A girl stepped in, annoyed by the noise. Seeing the teacher, she asked sharply, "What are you doing here?" She then noticed his opponent. "Wait, you hit student Shitian? But he's so handsome." The teacher froze. Student? He was stunned to learn that Shitian was enrolled at the school. Later, the teacher approached Shitian and apologized. "I trusted the wrong person. This was all my fault." Shitian crossed his arms and said, "You hit me 26 times. Can I punch you once?" This shocked the gym girl. The teacher told him to go ahead and prepare himself. Instead, Shitian told the teacher to eat something he had specially prepared, an extremely spicy sauce. He had to finish it all, every last drop, and then he would forgive him. As the teacher drank the sauce, Shitian thought this was the first time he had ever encountered an opponent he couldn't easily defeat. He couldn't say if he was happy or angry, but in that moment of their fight, his heart had raced. That night, back at his house, Shitian told the spirit to stay away from him while going to bed. The spirit told him to wait because he had something important to tell him. The spirit explained that when Shitian was fighting, his hands were lit by fire. This was the first time in 1,000 years that he had tried to manipulate flames. Because of that, he realized he had recovered some of his memory and powers. He had noticed 3 things. First, he had figured out a way to restore Shitian's body to normal. Second, the teacher and the girl were both suspicious. He noticed the girl possessed something a mortal shouldn't have, and regarding the teacher, his aura, the spirit still remembered quite clearly. During dinner, when he was near the teacher, he heard him muttering, "Lin Pochin, you are still as irritable and impulsive as ever. You don't deserve to be called." The spirit felt like the teacher's aura wasn't human at all. When Shitian asked what he meant, the spirit responded that there was an ultimate secret in this world. Even though he was deified and ruled over all people in his previous life, he wasn't satisfied. He was full of curiosity about the unknown world beyond. The spirit recounted how in the past, when he was sitting alone, his wife came and told him to go on an adventure. For 3 whole years without any questions, he went on an adventure in his chariot of fire. Shitian thought that in 3 whole years, she probably had fun with the whole village. The spirit said that when he eventually returned, he had discovered earth-shattering secrets. He kept going north, never looked back, and yet came back with knowledge. Shitian was disappointed and quickly ran off, grabbed a book from the bookshelf, and hit the spirit with it, telling him to screw off because he was going to bed. The spirit asked if he was interested in his wife. As Shitian was leaving, the spirit said he would get straight to the point. Back then, he had witnessed many strange races, plants, and animals. He had compiled and organized them and wrote 7 medicinal formulas for warming the spirit and nourishing the soul. The spirit remembered one formula. Since he was just a wisp of a soul, if he could get this formula right, he might be able to recover more of his memory. Perhaps he could eventually recall how to control flames. The formula ingredients were ginger, garlic, Sichuan pepper, and chili. Regarding the teacher and the girl, the spirit explained that the girl had something like a compass. He had been observing for a long time, and there were spiritual fluctuations within it. Perhaps it was a family heirloom, or perhaps she had obtained it by chance. In any case, it wasn't something an ordinary person should have. As for the teacher, he was indeed not human. He himself was a wisp of a soul, and the aura around the teacher was one of near madness. Those who possessed such an aura were definitely not human. He was probably some kind of monster lurking among humans. The scene shifted to show the teacher with a photo frame and jaw sticks. The teacher was apologizing to the photo, saying he had come to chat with his old friend again today. He had hurt a student and had done wrong. Looking at the photo, he said he couldn't be like him. It was so hard learning to be human. The next day at school, the gray-haired boy was getting beaten by the teacher. He was apologizing for lying. The teacher said he shouldn't have lied, but he had promised someone that he would protect all the students there, and the boy was one of them, so he could only forgive him. He grabbed the boy and told him never to lie again, then left, saying that if he ever did that again, he would break his nose and arms. Elsewhere in the school, girls were blushing and screaming over Shitian when the teacher called him. Seeing both of them together, students started gossiping, saying the 2 biggest legends were meeting each other and wondering if something had happened. Shitian asked why the teacher was there. He said he figured school would be almost over, so he came to find him. He asked if Shitian would like to take a walk with him outside in the bamboo garden. Shitian remembered the spirit had told him the teacher must be some kind of demon. As Shitian glanced at him, the teacher asked if he was wary of him, saying there was no need for that. Shitian wasn't this tense when they ate together a few days ago. From the look on his face, the teacher guessed the spirit behind him had told him everything. They were both shocked, thinking the teacher could sense the spirit. Shitian confirmed this was right. The teacher responded that this was why his hands had caught fire, and now it was much easier to communicate. He told Shitian to tell the spirit that he had no ill intention toward him and the other students. The teacher explained that this area used to be a bamboo forest before the school was built. Now only a small patch remained. He told Shitian that he wasn't human. This was where he was born. He was a bamboo spirit who had cultivated for 1,000 years to achieve human form. He had spent countless days there until he finally gained sentience. However, that very night, heavenly tribulation struck him with lightning. The forest was burned down to this small patch, and he was mortally wounded, reverting to his true form. Then someone took him home. The scene showed the teacher planting a bamboo tree. A passing worker asked what he was planting. It looked all broken and tattered. He responded that it was a piece of bamboo. Yesterday there had been a fire nearby, and he had picked it up from there. He hoped it would survive. From that moment, the bamboo stayed there, growing with nutrition and water supply. A boy tried to impress a girl by writing both their names on the bamboo with the leaves. Another boy shot a football that went flying directly at the bamboo, hitting it. After that, the bamboo vowed that once he could move, he would kill all of them. Later, a guy pressed his cigarette on the bamboo leaf. A nearby student spotted them smoking and nervously asked what was wrong. They looked down while smoking. The guy gave him a scary glare, which made him scared. Another guy said that if he ever dared tell anyone about this, he would get beaten up. This guy in front of them had put 52 people in the hospital this year alone, which made the student scared. The bully warned him not to tell anyone. It was all because of the new teacher who had recently transferred there. That morning, their smartphones were confiscated because they were caught skipping class and playing games in the bathroom. The teacher actually went around inspecting the student bathrooms, and they had to write a 5,000-word essay. Yesterday at lunch, this bully had asked a boy to treat him to lunch, but he got caught. This time it was an 8,000-word essay, and the teacher forced him to apologize to that kid. The bully said the teacher had made them all crazy, and they were furious. He suggested the student go away if he didn't want to get beaten up. Then the leader told him to leave the student alone, and they should head to class. Otherwise, they would get caught again. The subordinate thought this was so humiliating. He asked if that wasn't the bamboo planted by the teacher, and said next time he would pour boiling water on it. Later, the teacher was taking care of the bamboo, thinking about why he couldn't raise the bamboo well. After staying silent, the bamboo suddenly snapped, saying he was seriously angry and shouldn't be talking, but even if it cost him his cultivation, he had to speak. The teacher wondered where that sound was coming from and if the bamboo had just talked. The bamboo responded, saying not only could he talk, he could be the teacher's father too. The bamboo then said the teacher was insane for picking him up and planting him there, surrounded by sycamore trees. He was the only bamboo there, practically being ridiculed by everyone who passed by. The bamboo spirit began explaining that most of the people who had hurt him were actually the teacher's own students. Furious, the bamboo demanded to know how many students he had wronged, saying, "He messed with them and they messed with me." The teacher asked how the bamboo was able to talk. The bamboo introduced himself as a good spirit, a bamboo spirit struck by lightning and still in recovery. He thanked the teacher for saving him, saying that once he took human form, he would help him deal with the students. The bamboo warned that not a single student wished the teacher well. All the delinquents wanted revenge, and the rest simply gossiped behind his back. The bamboo asked the teacher to help him recover and take him away from that place. In return, he would help him take revenge. But the teacher refused, saying he couldn't allow harm to come to his students. He picked up the bamboo and told him he was too dangerous to be left there. So he brought him home and planted him in a pot. For a while, life was peaceful. The bamboo remembered those days fondly. Then one day, he asked the teacher why he wouldn't let him attack the students. The teacher admitted that he had gone through that same rebellious phase too. He didn't believe those youths were bad. They just lacked guidance. He wanted to show them the beauty of life and lead them down the right path. When the teacher tried to draw a comparison between the bamboo and his students, the bamboo rejected it, refusing to be treated like one of them. Still, life went on peacefully for about 6 months. But the bamboo realized too late that he had made a mistake. Being a newly formed spirit struck by lightning made him vulnerable and a prime target for cultivators. He shouldn't have stayed with the teacher. One memory stood out. The teacher had been sitting next to the bamboo, eating watermelon. The bamboo asked him to pour some juice on his leaves so he could feel the human sensation. As he was about to do it, a knock came at the door. When the teacher opened it, it was a group of delinquent students. He asked them why they were there and noticed something was off about their eyes. Before he could react, they shoved him aside and attacked. The story then flashed back to an earlier scene. Outside the men's restroom, a few students loitered while 3 delinquents inside were smoking. They complained about how the teacher kept catching them and how their disciplinary scores were dropping. At this rate, they wouldn't graduate. As they discussed their frustrations, someone entered the restroom. He wasn't a student they recognized. The group warned him not to enter while they were smoking, but the stranger ignored them. Angry, one of the delinquents tried to grab him, only to be stopped by a single finger. His hand went numb. The man, calm and composed, said that their violence stemmed from a lack of education. He wasn't even a student, he was a cultivator searching for spiritual medicine. He admitted he had been observing them and began manipulating their minds and desires. Back at the teacher's house, chaos broke out. The possessed students violently attacked him. One of them said he had been waiting to beat him up for a long time. When the teacher tried to explain himself, he was punched mid-sentence. One student yelled that things would have been fine if the teacher had just left them alone. Even as he was being choked, the teacher remained calm and tried to reason with them. He said he saw a broader and happier path for them and that he wanted to show it to them. Reaching toward the bamboo pot, he let go of resistance. Suddenly, the room exploded with energy. The windows shattered, and the students were blown out from the 3rd floor. The teacher opened his eyes to find the bamboo spirit standing beside him, now in human form. The bamboo teased him for not resting longer and mentioned that he had saved his life by throwing the students out. Scared, he asked him who he was. He proudly declared that now, with a human body, he wanted to experience the life path the teacher always talked about. The narration cut to the present, where the bamboo spirit recounted this story to MC. When the spirit asked what happened afterward, MC was surprised to hear that nothing more occurred. The villain never returned. The bamboo simply stayed by the teacher's side and protected him. But in this scene, the bamboo guy warns the teacher that they're in grave danger. He reveals that the student who attacked earlier was being controlled, and that a cultivator is hiding in the school, one who is after the bamboo's body. The teacher blushes and mutters that it sounds kind of pervy. When the teacher asked what they should do, the bamboo said they had to stick together, literally. Even when going to the bathroom, he would have to follow him. He suggested a solution: let him experience the life path by becoming a teacher. Now in the classroom, the teacher was holding a bamboo stick, the transformed spirit, and explaining a lesson. Students whispered among themselves, wondering why their teacher, once a known plant lover, was now walking around with a bamboo pointer. Back in the present timeline, the bamboo said it had been 36 years since he was used as a pointer stick, but during that time, he had achieved full comprehensive surveillance. The MC interrupted sharply, telling him to stop bullshitting. The bamboo snapped back, insisting he had indeed been used for 36 years. He had been watching over the teacher all along, but the villain never showed up. Both the MC and the spirit were deeply disappointed by this story. Then the bamboo revealed that the original teacher had passed away a few years ago from natural illness. His final wish was for the bamboo to continue on the same life path. That's why he stayed on, fulfilling his old friend's last wish. He added that he still felt like someone was watching him, possibly the culprit from back then. He asked MC not to reveal that he wasn't human. He didn't want to betray his deceased friend's trust. MC promised to keep the secret, then asked for a favor. He wanted to know where to find certain ingredients. At that moment, the scene briefly shifted to a mysterious man watching both MC and the bamboo teacher from afar. MC went back to his daily routine, eating, helping others, and getting stared at by a student. Meanwhile, his desk at school was covered in love letters. Back then, the MC had mentioned he had just started cultivating. The bamboo offered him a special website to help. Confused, MC asked what kind of website. The bamboo explained that it was where modern cultivators gathered. He told MC to call him when he logged in. Later that night, MC entered the site and was shocked. It looked like a completely different world. Slamming his hand on the table, he called the bamboo and asked how many cultivators were around. The bamboo replied, about 1.2 million. MC was stunned. The teacher mentioned that there are many extraordinary people with unique abilities, all called inheritors of traditional crafts. These skills are considered intangible cultural heritage, so there's a dedicated website and government department to prevent these esoteric arts from being lost. Some sales in the community even initiated this effort, and the government is involved as well. The MC was really shocked to hear that most cultivators can't dodge a sniper bullet traveling thousands of meters per second. But by using esoteric arts, they can easily evade it. However, they get arrested every year for breaking the law. He said that anyone who steps even slightly out of line is warned. Then the bamboo guy shared a story about a man in the area. Cultivation is both time-consuming and unprofitable nowadays. This man dedicated 20 years practicing GU cultivation, but his wife scolded him every day for not having a proper job. Meanwhile, one of his friends who moved to the city has already built a big house. That's how, over time, these skills have been lost. He explained that cultivation today is very down to earth. Then he told the MC to just register his information on the website. There are many guides to help, opportunities to communicate with fellow cultivators, and even offline blind dates and group meetups. By registering, the MC could also receive cooking oil and rice every month. After hearing that, the MC asked how much food he would actually get. Now as he's filling out the form, now at school, Shitian's unintentionally stealing hearts with his transformed appearance. Girls whispered and giggled around him, clearly smitten. Meanwhile, he quietly wondered to himself. It had been quite a while since he submitted that form, yet he still hadn't received a response. As usual, his desk was piled high with letters. But this time, there was something else too, a gift box. Curious, he opened it and was stunned to find a ring inside. He stood up immediately and asked aloud, "Who placed this in my desk? This is way too extravagant." But the class around him looked genuinely confused, no one claiming responsibility. The next day, he received a PlayStation. The day after that, a heart-shaped box of chocolates. Then came a graphic card, and by the 5th day, another mysterious gift appeared. At this point, Shitian was completely overwhelmed. These weren't just ordinary fan letters. Someone was clearly going all out. Nervous, he realized he needed to find out who was behind this. Yet, not a single note had a name attached. That evening, Shitian brought all the gifts and letters back home. The spirit inside him, curious, asked what he was doing. Shitian replied that he was reading through all the letters. He couldn't bring himself to throw them away because, despite how ridiculous some were, people had written them with genuine feelings. He explained that the letters mostly fell into 3 categories. First, those who wanted tips on weight loss. Second, those who bizarrely referred to him as their father. And lastly, those who clearly had impure motives. Especially the third kind. It was as if they wanted to reach out and touch his face through the paper itself. Irritated, Shitian shouted that none of the letters mentioned anything about sending him the gifts. The spirit said he was jealous of the MC. Shitian, not having it, slapped the spirit in the face. Trying to calm things down, the spirit offered a different thought. Maybe the sender simply wanted to stay anonymous. Maybe she didn't want him to return the gifts and held no bad intentions. Shitian shook his head. He had principles. He couldn't accept such lavish gifts without knowing the sender's identity. He decided to return them eventually. But just as he said that, his stomach growled. Blushing slightly, he muttered that he was just going to eat one piece of chocolate and started searching for the heart-shaped box. But things were only about to get more complicated. While Shitian was peacefully asleep, his phone suddenly rang. He groggily picked up the unknown number. A man on the other side asked, "Is this Shitian?" Shitian asked who was calling. The man introduced himself as a staff member from the Traditional Crafts Protection Network. They had received Shitian's application and would soon visit his home for verification. Before that, he was instructed to join a nearby community group, and a QR code was sent to him. Shitian groaned, thinking it was all too modern. But still, he scanned the code. The moment he joined, his phone exploded with buzzing notifications. The group was chaotic. People were selling all sorts of weird items and homemade medicines. It was like some bizarre underground marketplace. In the middle of all that, group members were worshipping someone called Sisi Ancestor Jiao. Everyone in the chat praised this person, calling him a role model for the cultivation world. Suddenly, Ancestor Jiao sent a PDF file into the group. Shitian opened it, expecting some ancient manual. Instead, it was titled Business Secrets, How to Get Rich, Full Table of Contents. Disgusted, Shitian slammed his phone down and typed out a message. "I'm leaving this stupid group." But Ancestor Jiao stopped him. Jiao initiated a private chat and messaged him directly. Shitian was confused and irritated. "Why are you DMing me? Go away." Jiao asked if he was a student at SH No. 1 high school. Shitian paused. How did this guy know? Then Jiao dropped a bombshell. He was the president of the Shitian fan club. Shitian froze. Jiao even admitted to secretly taking a picture of Shitian recently, and then shyly confessed that he had been the one sending all the mysterious gifts. Shitian began to shake. Jiao wrote, "Shitian's gotten thinner lately. He's not as cute now. I hope he gains a little weight again." Shitian was horrified. And then came the final blow. Jiao was actually a girl. We shift to a flashback. This ancestor Jiao was in fact Jiao Daxiong. She began narrating her story. Some girls liked rich guys, others liked handsome ones. But she liked only one person, the chubby but lovable Shitian. Growing up, Chao was a terrible student. She always scored 0 on her exams. Despite studying hard, she just couldn't make it. One day, her father barged into her room, looking like Nobita's dad, out of nowhere. She thought she was about to be scolded, but her father told her there was no need. After all, no one in their family had ever passed a test. He told her to give up because failing was their family's tradition. The reason? Her headband had the word pass written wrong. Her fate was sealed, apparently. But instead of scolding her, her father pulled out a dusty scroll from a drawer. He claimed it was their family heirloom, a guide to fortune-telling so accurate, it could divine anything, anywhere. Jiao looked devastated. All she wanted was to pass her exam, not become a street psychic. But then an idea struck her. What if this could work? So she agreed to learn divination. On her next exam, she filled the answers using a mix of divination coins and prediction techniques. Shockingly, she passed. From then on, she used her cheating fortune-telling method through junior high and somehow got admitted to Shitian's high school. At the high school, a teacher sat in frustration, staring at Zhao Daxiong's exam sheet. The specialized subject teacher noticed this and asked what was wrong. With a sigh, the teacher explained that they had a new problematic student, Zhao Daxiong. Despite being able to answer almost every multiple-choice and complex technical question with ease, her essays and explanations were filled with absurd logic and major flaws. In math, physics, and chemistry, she only wrote the final answer, bizarre ones at that, with no workings shown. Shaking his head, he muttered that he simply couldn't understand this generation of students. Intrigued, the bamboo spirit teacher decided to step in. If that was the case, he said, he would take some countermeasures. Soon, the day of exams arrived. Among the students was Zhao Daxiong, but the moment she laid eyes on the question paper, her mind went blank. The test contained only essay-style questions, no multiple choice. The answers required deep analysis, and there was nothing she could guess or bluff her way through. She froze, overwhelmed by panic. With trembling hands, she realized that without MCQs, she might not even be able to pass this semester. There was nothing she could do but cry. In her panic, she imagined the future, her teacher staring at her blank paper, telling her he couldn't see the ink, while the other students laughed at her failure. She thought about copying from the textbook but realized the teacher was standing in front of her, watching like a hawk. This, she cried, must be her punishment from above. Desperate, she prayed to God to send someone, anyone, to help her. And right then, the MC barged into the room and sat down in front of her. She stared at him, her eyes wide. In that moment, she saw him as an angel. There was something about his back. It felt so solid, so safe, just like her parents. It filled her heart with warmth. Unable to resist, she began cheating off his paper while quietly sobbing. After the exam, although she hadn't passed out, something inside her changed. That moment became her turning point. She vowed to never cheat again and to study properly from that day forward. She had fallen for MC. Later, she told MC that ever since then, no matter where she went or what she did, her eyes always sought him out. She felt like fate had tied them together. MC, however, looked annoyed. He thought the only reason she noticed him was probably because of his massive size. She then shyly asked him which class he was from and what his name was. Realizing she didn't know his identity, he lied. He told her that he and Shiritian were classmates and friends. This shocked her. He then gently advised her to stop sending anonymous gifts and instead talk to Shiritian directly. She should face her fears and confess. Blushing, she said that such a move felt too bold, like a scene straight from a romance movie. But despite everything, MC kept receiving gifts from her every day, different snacks, foods, and trinkets. What made things more ridiculous was the MC still think that the girl is actually a guy, and that this guy has been secretly observing him. To make things even stranger, the person keeps bringing him food that he just can't refuse. After finishing the meal, someone suddenly barges in, yelling, "Is Daddy Shitian here?" Spotting the MC, the newcomer says, "There's a first-year girl waiting out in the hallway. She wants to see Daddy." The MC is confused but heads outside to check. When he sees the girl, he wonders, is this really her? The girl then says she wants to take photos of him. Meanwhile, students in the background whisper about how many times girls have asked the MC out lately. She explains that she knows he works at the gym, and she even contacted the manager. They've agreed to do a photo shoot featuring him working out for a promotional poster. But in truth, she's hoping that through this opportunity, she can get to know him better. Later at the gym, she boldly takes several poster-style photos of the MC in various poses. After the photo shoot ended, the MC, still catching his breath, turned to the gym manager and asked, "What's her deal?" The manager smiled, glancing toward the girl as she packed up her camera. "She and Jiao have known each other for a long time," she said. "She's always been a bit mysterious, but she's a good person." She paused, then added thoughtfully, "Back when things were tough, she guided me through some important decisions, always at just the right time. That's why I carry a compass now. Sounds silly, but her advice has never steered me wrong." The scene then shifted to a different location, where an old man was sitting quietly. He was a fortune teller. Suddenly, an old woman appeared and dropped money on the table, demanding he read her love fortune. She proudly claimed to be the leader of the largest square dancing team in the neighborhood and asked whether she or her rival would win the heart of a newly retired professor named Wang. The fortune teller asked for her hand, and as he held it tightly, she flinched and pulled back, accusing him of being rough. He insisted he was performing a bond reading and needed a strong grip to get accurate results. Then he declared that her romantic luck was very low and most likely her rival would end up kissing the professor. Furious, the woman kicked him and stormed off. The old man muttered, "Crazy lady," as he stood up, only to be approached by another strange man, an odd cultivator. The old man asked if he was here for a fortune too, but the cultivator shook his head and said he was here to form an alliance. He said the woman didn't understand anything, but he did. As the woman was running toward the plaza, she suddenly froze in her tracks. Right in front of her, she saw it, the man she liked, Professor Wang, standing with her rival team leader. The two were smiling, laughing, and then, without warning, they leaned in and kissed. Her heart sank. The fortune teller was no ordinary man. He was once ranked among the top 10 cultivators, known in Jianghu as the calculus ancestor. The old man was startled. He hadn't expected to be recognized. Laughing awkwardly, he packed his things and tried to flee, not wanting to get dragged into trouble. But the cultivator chased after him, lifting his three-wheeled cart into the air. The old man demanded to know what he wanted. The cultivator explained that he wasn't from the city guard or any traditional crafts protection group. He was also on the run. He asked the old man to look into his eyes and see his sincerity. The two ended up sitting down to eat. While they ate, the cultivator remarked that he had once been incredibly skilled. He'd eaten 6 servings without issue. He asked how someone like that ended up as a fortune teller. The old man confessed. Years ago, he made a mistake. He miscalculated a divination, got caught up in an online casino scam, and lost everything, even with his divine abilities. His entire pension vanished. That's how he ended up broke and working as a fortune teller. Then he asked about the cultivator's story. The cultivator admitted that things were complicated. He wasn't even human. He was a demon who had cultivated into spirit form. To prove it, he revealed his true shape, a bamboo rabbit. Startled, the old man warned him not to show such forms in public. Someone might see. The rabbit spirit reassured him. He had already cast an illusion. No one passing by could see him. Then with a sigh, the bamboo spirit told his story. He once lived near a mountain filled with bamboo. his main food source. One massive bamboo stalk in particular was incredibly nutritious, and he had planned to eat it on his 1000th birthday. But before that day came, the bamboo itself cultivated into a spirit and flew away. The tribulation that followed caused thunder and lightning, burning the entire bamboo forest to the ground. The worst part? The bamboo spirit that escaped was too strong to defeat. For 40 years, the rabbit had disguised himself as different students, trying to observe and ambush that bamboo. But there was never an opening. He watched the bamboo spirit rise from being an ordinary teacher to the academy's director. Recently, that bamboo had even made friends with a cultivator. Frustrated, the rabbit spirit exclaimed, "All I wanted was to eat some bamboo. Is that so wrong? I stand on the side of justice." The old man told him to calm down. The rabbit nodded and said that's why he came to ask for help. If he paid enough, surely the old man would agree. He promised good food and a few thousand yuan. But the old man didn't budge. He wanted 60,000 yuan. The bamboo rabbit froze, then exploded. "Are you trying to rob me?" The rat spirit complained that the old man is charging too much. He explained that his only source of income for the past 40 years had been robbing younger students every single day, rain or shine. He'd never taken a break, yet only managed to save 60,000 yuan. Now, he was even touching his wife's savings. The old man scoffed and told him to cut that crap, he was broke too. Then he asked him to think carefully. Which was more important, his female or his bamboo food? The bamboo rat answered, the female rat. In that case, the old man asked him why he needed his help. The bamboo rat explained that the bamboo spirit has a friend, someone who seems to have the power to heat up his hands. That boy has been targeted by a female fortune teller cultivator, and according to him, their relationship follows a certain pattern. He said he hoped the old man could hold back those two students for a while, so he could have the chance to fight the bamboo spirit one-on-one. Then he added, "Aren't you interested in that girl? She's from the Jiao family, the ones you hate." The old man smirked. "Is that so, Jiao family?" He nodded and said he'd give him that assignment. The bamboo rat thought it was a discount, but instead the old man told him that for giving him this information, he'd only take off 80 yuan. The rat was furious. This food costs more than that. Meanwhile, after several hours of intense workout at the gym, the MC was finally leaving when Jiao stopped him outside. She asked if they could walk together since they were headed in the same direction. As they walked, she suddenly brought up the past, how she first noticed him during the final exams. Back then, he was quite chubby, and she admitted she was shocked to see how composed and fit he had become. She then confessed that even after he lost all that weight, she couldn't forget about him. Just as she was about to confess her feelings, the MC sensed something unusual. He told her they'd talk later, but the atmosphere around him felt off. Despite being in the middle of the city, he hadn't seen a single pedestrian for several minutes, except for an old man following them. At the same time, back at school, the bamboo rat was heading toward the bamboo teacher. But before he could get there, a female student spotted him, ran up and hugged him tightly, calling him soft and fluffy. Thinking it was a boy in a Pikachu mascot suit, the teacher scolded him and said mascots weren't allowed. He told the rat to take off the costume and come to his office. Annoyed, the rat snapped back, saying it wasn't a costume at all. Meanwhile, the MC confronted the old man following them. Jiao asked what he wanted, and the old man admitted he was impressed by the MC's powerful eyes and wanted to ask for a favor. He revealed he had been paid to stall them, and was willing to give 59,000 of the 60,000 yuan commission to the MC and keep only 1,000. He suggested they use it to shop while he finished his task. He even offered to reveal who sent him. Back at school, as the teacher was escorting the bamboo rat to the principal's office, the rat saw an opening and suddenly launched a surprise attack, throwing a flurry of punches. But he quickly realized he had missed. The teacher was no longer in front of him. Appearing behind him, the teacher calmly said that the rat had demonic energy and accused him of secretly plotting against him. The bamboo rat snapped back, saying he wasn't just anyone. "I'm your daddy, I raised you, changed your diapers, fertilized and watered you for 500 years, he shouted in rage. Without waiting, the rat lunged again, and the two clashed fists in a fierce showdown. Meanwhile, back to the MC. MC asked the old man again who had sent him. The old man chuckled and said that if he wanted to find out, he'd have to fight him. He claimed to be a martial artist, doing 50 push-ups, 5 kilometer runs, and 30 sit-ups daily, and could climb 6 flights of stairs without breaking a sweat. He only hesitated to fight because he feared it might get too bloody. Then, in an instant, the old man's body bulked up, muscles popped, and he grew several times in size, shocking the MC. The fire spirit hovering nearby muttered that the sight was nostalgic. Even Jiao could now see the spirit. The old man struck a heart-shaped pose, shadow boxed, and said he was ready to fight. The MC, stunned, asked how the old man got so buff. The spirit explained that by channeling spiritual energy into muscles, one could temporarily transform the body into any desired physique. It was an ancient technique from his time. When mastered, it was known as the Dharma body, golden form. The old man warned the MC that he only wanted to stall him for a few hours, but if he resisted, he might break some bones, especially the girls. He had something private to discuss with her. As he reached for Jiao, The MC stepped in and blocked him. The old man felt an intense heat from MC's hand. Jiao was told to back away, and she urged the MC to be careful. After the attack, the old man screamed, accusing the MC of being too ruthless. "How can you disrespect your elders like this?" he shouted. MC stood there, shocked. He had been sent flying by a single punch from the old man. This was bad. Now he realized the old man was far too strong for him to handle. The spirit explained that by focusing spiritual energy and thinking about one's strongest form, one could reshape their body. Since MC hadn't cultivated yet, the spirit lent him some of his own energy. As the old man charged, he was shocked to see that MC had already transformed. His old chubby physique had returned, but now with power. The MC easily blocked the attack. With a confident smirk, he slapped the old man to the ground. The spirit asked how it felt to be back in his old body. The MC grinned and said it felt amazing, like he'd regained his youth. Then he grabbed the old man by the leg, spun him in the air, and flung him away. Jiao watched in awe. She felt blessed just seeing the MC return to his former self. The spirit warned that the MC could only maintain this form for 3 minutes. His spiritual energy was burning too fast. The old man, now in disbelief, muttered that the difference in their strength was like standing before a mountain. Still, he convinced himself that although MC was big, he couldn't be fast. He launched toward Jiao, but MC appeared behind him in a flash and lifted him into the air. The old man yelled about his back hurting. MC told him not to resist or he'd hurt his bones and muscles. The spirit observed that MC's energy was nearly depleted, and this battle was almost over. After that, the MC tied the old man firmly against the pillar. Not long after, the flame spirit began laughing, his voice echoing with a strange emotion. The spirit confessed that in that former life, MC had been gentle in nature, yet far from handsome. He was, in truth, rather ugly. Never in his wildest thoughts did he imagine that MC would reincarnate into such a beautiful form in this life. Hearing this, MC was shocked, and he commented dryly that the spirit's taste was quite unique. The flame spirit chuckled again, and explained that in his own era, the perception of beauty was entirely different. The thicker one's body, the more beautiful they were considered. The spirit then grew serious, and explained that maintaining this golden body required an enormous amount of spiritual energy, and as a mere remnant of soul, he had no way of replenishing it on his own. MC frowned and asked what exactly he meant by that. The spirit calmly told him that he would soon be entering a deep slumber, one from which he could not awaken by himself. It would be up to MC to wake him. The method was simple, he said. He had already left instructions inside MC's study room, on the 3rd shelf, within the 5th book. The spirit reminded MC that he must not delay too long in this task, and that he hoped MC would wake him within this lifetime. After saying those words, the flame spirit's form gradually disappeared into the air, and in that moment, MC's transformation faded away, leaving him back in his skinny body. MC let out a long sigh of relief, muttering that at last he could enjoy some peace and quiet. He decided he would allow himself to rest for a few days before even considering waking the spirit again. However, his moment of silence was broken when Jiao suddenly shouted his name. She ran up to him, her face flushed with urgency, and thanked him sincerely for saving her life. After that, she admitted that there was something she had long wanted to tell him, and now, after seeing his chubby, safe and secure figure again, she could no longer hold it back. She explained that deep in her heart, she had always longed for a father like MC. Her own father was lazy, and ever since she was a child, she had yearned to know what it felt like to have a dependable and protective dad. She told him that the last time her heart had stirred was when she was studying a Chinese text that described a father twisting his fat body as he crossed a platform to buy oranges. Another time her feelings had been stirred was during an exam, when she had first met MC. From that day, she had seen him as a father figure, so safe and reassuring that her heart constantly raced whenever he was near. After seeing his former figure just now, her emotions overflowed, and she confessed she could no longer hold them back. She said she had always wanted to call him daddy, just as so many other students at school had done. Hearing this, MC sighed again and told her he had been worried for nothing, and it seemed he had overthought things. Calmly, he explained that from his childhood until now, a total of 3,807 people had already called him daddy. So what difference would it make if one more person added themselves to the list? Jiao grew emotional at his words, and, with teary eyes, asked if she could really call him daddy. MC nodded, telling her to go ahead. Without hesitation, she lunged at him, embracing him tightly and calling out daddy with all her heart. The old man tied to the pole watched this scene unfold with bewildered eyes. His mind struggled to understand today's generation and their strange fetishes. Meanwhile, on the other side, the battle between the bamboo rat and the bamboo teacher spirit raged on. The bamboo rat grew increasingly unsettled, realizing that his attacks were almost entirely ineffective. At this rate, he would certainly lose. He thought bitterly to himself that the situation was humiliating. How could a bamboo rat of his stature be defeated like this? Fueled by anger, he mustered his strength and launched another desperate attack. The bamboo teacher calmly adjusted his glasses and told the rat to prepare himself. Then, with a swift movement, he struck back. His attack landed, and with the aid of his magic wine, the bamboo rat collapsed to the ground. Lying there, he thought miserably that it was over. Despite years of secretly training and improving himself, he still could not measure up. Tears welled in his eyes as the crushing weight of defeat overcame him. As the bamboo teacher approached, the rat trembled and shouted at him to stay away. He was convinced that this was the end, that the teacher would drain him dry for nourishment. Yet instead of striking, the bamboo teacher extended a hand and offered him bamboo leaves. Confused, the rat stammered, asking what was going on. Was he not going to kill him? The teacher simply told him to eat, reminding him that this was what he had always longed for. He added, almost reluctantly, that while he hated to admit it, he had indeed been planted for food, and over the past 1,000 years the teacher had cared for him. Allowing him a few bites now would be fine, but he warned him sternly never to harm anyone connected to him. The bamboo rat took the leaves, and as soon as he tasted them, tears streamed down his face. The texture was exquisite, and for the first time in years, his body felt truly satisfied. Overcome with emotion, he began apologizing for his past mistakes, begging the bamboo teacher for more. The teacher told him to follow, and he led him into a room. The rat, still cautious, asked what this place was. The teacher replied that it was his dormitory, where he often cooked lunch. There, he gathered fresh bamboo leaves and branches, explaining that they grew back quickly, just like hair after a haircut. He began to cook them, and soon a fragrant dish filled the room. Placing it before the rat, the teacher told him he would make an exception today and let him eat as much as he wanted, just this once. The rat's eyes widened as he asked how many such meals he could have in a year. The teacher replied that it could be about 50. Hearing this, the rat began sobbing again, realizing that such meals were like daily delicacies. Yet in all these years he had never even had a single bite. He admitted he could never defeat the teacher, and that eating like this was already enough for him. He then surrendered fully, pledging to follow the teacher and promising to assist him in future fights, but only if he continued to be fed meals like this. Sometime later, MC and Jiao returned to the school with the old man in tow. Their teacher looked at the scene and asked what was going on. MC calmly explained that they had encountered a cultivator with malicious intentions. He had captured the man and wanted to ask how the cultivator realm should handle him. But then MC's eyes fell on the bamboo rat standing behind the teacher, and he was startled. The teacher explained matter-of-factly that the rat was now his new pet. The rat locked eyes with the old man, and soon the two began taunting each other. The rat mocked him, asking why he dared call himself an ancestor when he couldn't even stop a high school student and had lost all his savings. The old man furiously retorted that he specialized in fortune-telling, not fighting. And besides, even if he had tried to intervene, the rat would still have been unable to take revenge, since he had already been defeated on his own. The argument grew heated, but before it could escalate further, the bamboo teacher silenced them and demanded to know if the bamboo rat had truly hired the old man. The bamboo rat stammered and apologized, but the teacher already understood the entire story. He then invited MC and Jiao to sit and share a meal with him while they explained what had transpired that day. After eating and talking, the old man was officially arrested. That night, MC returned to his quiet home. It struck him that it had been a long time since the house had felt this peaceful. His mind wandered back to what the flame spirit had said about waking him. With a heavy sigh, he went to his study and pulled out the book mentioned earlier. As he opened it, he noticed something odd, a piece of chocolate wedged inside, and then a folded slip of paper fell out. On the paper were written detailed instructions. The flame spirit explained that he had refined a pill using a bar of Snickers. By burning it with his fire and infusing it into a suitable carrier, he had transformed it. He had even purchased 10 boxes of Snickers using MC's Alipay account to refine all their heat essence into one. Afterward, he engraved a unique magic circle onto the wrapper itself, converting calories into spiritual energy. The result was already a true spiritual pill, capable of restoring his power. MC scowled in annoyance, realizing the spirit had used his money without permission. Muttering angrily, he unwrapped the Snickers and bit into it, saying that he would wake the spirit up first, and then beat him senseless afterward. But as soon as the chocolate entered his stomach, his body began to release steam. He was no longer hungry, yet the Snickers refused to digest. Instead, its energy rampaged violently through his system, heat surging and spreading in every direction. MC gagged, feeling as though he was about to vomit. He stumbled to the window, forced his mouth open, and in the next instant, a stream of blazing fire burst out like the breath of a dragon. From the fire, the flame spirit began emerging. He yawned, saying that finally he was awake, and praised MC, noting that he was a man of his word. He did not waste time waking him fully, and immediately asked if something was wrong with MC's face, if something was bothering him. Then, he grabbed him, asking what he had made MC take, and as MC released fire like a dragon, the spirit apologized, saying it had been stronger than expected. He had not anticipated MC would breathe fire so powerfully. He then asked MC whether he wanted to learn the fire control alchemy technique, explaining that it was the greatest technique of his life, one he had mastered over centuries. Since MC had now stepped into the world of cultivation, the spirit told him he would not be helpless when encountering other cultivators. This technique would allow MC to control the temperature of his hands and also aid in losing weight. MC asked him to explain further, so the spirit elaborated. He explained that ordinary cultivators cultivated spiritual energy through their dantian, seeking auspicious locations where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth could be harnessed. However, he told MC that his method was more direct, something MC could rely on immediately. Placing his hand on MC's stomach, he explained that there was a special energy within MC, a fire that could be guided to replace stomach acid, digest everything he ate, and directly convert it into spiritual energy. MC protested, telling the spirit to stop touching his stomach. The spirit laughed, saying it was a little trick for better observation, and then made MC's abdomen transparent so he could see the fire within. He explained that this fire had been refined over a lifetime, capable of melting anything, but it was now rampaging uncontrollably within MC. The spirit pointed out that MC's entire meridian system was glowing with the fire's light, which also explained why his hands were always hot and why he was perpetually hungry. Once MC mastered control, he would be able to regulate it completely. Next, the spirit brought out the sneaker he had bought and placed it on MC's body, adjusting its position. He explained that the fire was like a pet, attracted to food. MC needed to focus his attention on his stomach immediately after eating and swirl his awareness around it. Slowly, by directing his attention, he could control the fire, making it spin and refine the energy from food into spiritual power repeatedly. MC asked if this was cultivation, and the spirit confirmed it was. He explained that compared to ordinary methods, this technique significantly increased the rate of energy utilization from food. The more MC ate, the stronger he became. Ordinary people consumed food and produced waste, but for MC, every meal would be transformed into spiritual power. It was the simplest and most original cultivation method in the world. Meanwhile, from a distance, someone was observing MC. The bald man asked the spike-haired guy subordinate if that was Shitian. The subordinate confirmed it, and the bald man said they should observe MC for a few days before making contact. With an intense gaze, he asked whether this was the person who had defeated the fortune teller and the bamboo spirit, and the subordinate confirmed again. As they watched, the spike-haired subordinate, noticing the bald man crying, remarked that MC was so handsome, lived in a huge house, and had abundant food before him. He was so extraordinary that the kid's future trajectory was predictable, enough to make anyone envious. Unlike them, still single at 30, working overtime daily, surviving on instant noodles, and even forced to hide in the men's bathroom of a nearby building just to monitor MC. Back with MC, he attempted to eat the sneaker to cultivate, but he failed. The spirit opened the window and instructed MC to release the flame outside. Afterward, he told MC he had failed again, as the food in his stomach had not been properly digested. The flames had only lightly roasted it, releasing minimal energy. He urged MC to try again, demonstrating by instructing him to spray a heart-shaped flame. In a fit of rage, MC unleashed his fury, mercilessly pummeling the flame spirit. The spike-haired guy, observing, wondered aloud what that flame was, commenting that it was a foolishly anticipated new technique. The spirit reminded that the world was vast, filled with individuals dabbling in evil and unorthodox practices. He then shared the backstory of the spike-haired subordinate, spanning 3 chapters: his childhood, how he got the job, and how he worked with the bald man in the traditional craft protection network. Their work involved observing and checking all registered cultivators secretly, reviewing behavior over days or months. If cultivators behaved appropriately, they could become official members of the network, protected by the system. This month, their assignment was observing and reviewing the newly registered user, Shitian. MC continued his cultivation, and the spirit instructed him to maintain and gradually retract the fire, controlling it slowly. The spike-haired guy noticed that all MC did was eat and practice fire repeatedly. He also observed a spirit, seemingly an ancient remnant soul, teaching MC. Bewildered, he wondered who the spirit was and what kind of fire-based cultivation method this was. He began to cry, believing my cultivation method was far too difficult. The sight was heartbreaking. The spirit asked MC how it felt, and MC replied that it felt like a sneaker-like energy lingered within his body. He also noted that he could suddenly sense spirits, aura, and emotions. MC then asked the spirit if this was schadenfreude, as he could clearly feel it. MC remarked that the spirit had enjoyed watching him eat and breathe fire over the past 2 days, and the spirit smirked, acknowledging that MC's cultivation was progressing quickly. The fire energy in his body, though not fully refined, could be moved to his mouth to breathe fire, or to his hands to make them scorching hot. With continued cultivation, the fire would refine further and become his golden core. The stronger perception ability MC now experienced was also brought about by this flame. The spirit asked if MC could feel the auras besides his own, and MC confirmed that he could. The spirit explained that this was the ability to perceive the unpleasant feelings of being observed by evil people. noting that several individuals about 500 meters away had been staring for days. Now that one was gone, it was their chance. The spirit instructed MC to channel the flames to the soles of his feet, then took MC in his arms like a baby and flew toward the observer. As he approached the spiked hair man, the flame spirit began chanting, gathering magical energy in his hand. He declared that such a cruel, violent, and merciless aura could only have been formed by killing thousands. In the era he once lived, anyone with that kind of aura would have been hunted down and exterminated by all cultivators under heaven. Yet he could hardly believe that even after all these years, demon cultivators had still not been wiped out. The spike-haired guy tried to explain, insisting it was all a misunderstanding. The spirit replied that he had captured countless teams and cultivators in his life, all claiming misunderstanding, and that he would tie them up first before hearing any explanations. He then launched a firewall toward the spike-haired guy, who panicked and drew his sword. However, a different cultivator blocked the attack. The bald man intervened, explaining that it truly was a misunderstanding that could not be clarified at the moment, and that they bore no ill will toward the spirit. He asked the spirit to allow them to leave. The spirit, sensing the situation, suddenly realized there were only two individuals present, but he detected a third aura he recognized. The other two teleported to their base, leaving the spike-haired guy terrified and crying, nearly roasted alive. The bald man reassured him that the spirit had held back, and that he, as a cultivator of fire-based spells, would not have been harmed. He encouraged the subordinate to pull himself together, reminding him that he was strong and amazing. He emphasized that, as a demonic cultivator and civil servant maintaining peace in the cultivation world, he needed to act fearlessly, not soft or cute. The subordinate was told it was acceptable to cry, but not to look frightened at him. Later, the spike-haired guy took a vacation. A senior asked the bald man what had happened to the junior. The bald man explained that the subordinate had been withdrawn, given 2 days off, and had been mistaken for a demonic cultivator due to failing to conceal his aura, resulting in fear after a fireball incident. A blue-haired man reassured the bald man that it was nothing. He reflected that having been at the position for a year, it reminded him of his early experiences when he was also misunderstood and beaten. The bald man acknowledged these hardships, and the blue-haired man explained that people often misunderstood them, not out of malice but due to ignorance of modern demonic cultivators. Despite their roles, they had a sense of justice, and so did others. Whether demonic cultivators or not, they were good people performing good deeds, which was sufficient. The bald man then asked if the blue-haired man, being so positive, feared succumbing to inner demons. The blue-haired man retorted, questioning if the bald man dared to challenge him, warning that he would rip out his tongue if provoked. Finally, the spike-haired guy was shown sitting alone in a corner, reflecting on the chaotic events he had witnessed. The following day, the flame spirit informed MC that he had been observing the surroundings for a while. The aura of demonic cultivators nearby appeared to have vanished, though the spirit suspected they might be hiding skillfully. Curious, MC asked for an explanation about demonic cultivators. The spirit elaborated that these individuals absorbed the evil chi between heaven and earth to cultivate. In short, every one of them was guilty of heinous crimes, and because their cultivation methods were so unorthodox, they could master strange and powerful techniques. What made them most terrifying, he said, was their ability to manipulate hearts and minds. If a cultivator's will was weak, their influence could invade the mind, ultimately controlling the individual and creating what was known as a heart demon. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the spike-haired guy, who was writing when he heard someone calling him. Looking around, he asked who was there. Suddenly, his sword began levitating. A voice responded, claiming, "I am your blade, a demon cultivator, just like you, your ancestor, who has just awakened." Surprised, the spike-haired guy asked if this was the senior who supposedly died from urinating too much. The sword angrily corrected him, stating it had been asleep for over 1,000 years, and the story about urinating too much was false. In reality, during a past fight, some enemies had left for a bathroom break, and while he was pulling up his pants, they ambushed and killed him. The spike-haired guy nodded, finally understanding. The sword continued, explaining that it hated dwelling on the past and had now reformed itself as a spirit. The sword then marked the spike-haired guy, asking if he was truly weak and easily frightened, and inquired whether he desired power. The boy eagerly agreed. The demonic spirit revealed that the cultivation technique the boy was practicing had been created by the spirit and had a second half. To unlock true power, there was a price. As a descendant of the spirit, he would need to kill someone. The spike-haired boy refused, stating he would rather not gain strength under such conditions. Undeterred, the spirit chanted over him, saying that since he would not comply, it would take over his body. Instantly, the spirit possessed him successfully. Sometime later, the scene shifted to a store. A worker welcomed a customer, only to freeze when she saw him, noting that his hand was on fire. It was the possessed spike-haired boy. He demanded a map of the city immediately and announced that he would commit some acts of destruction to increase his cultivation. Without hesitation, he blasted the shop with his newfound power. From afar, the flame spirit sensed a fire and a troubling aura, confirming that a demonic cultivator was at work. The possessed boy was now wreaking havoc across the city. Two cultivators approached him, ordering him to surrender. The demon turned, swiftly defeating both with a single strike. Meanwhile, at the Traditional Arts Protection Network building, a blue-haired officer noticed the city alarm and asked what had occurred. Another officer explained that a dangerous individual was setting fires along the streets, even injuring two colleagues, and that the department was mobilizing to provide support. When asked why they had no prior knowledge, he explained that they were not a frontline combat unit and needed to avoid suspicion, as the perpetrator appeared to be a demonic cultivator. Suddenly, the bald officer entered, slamming the door. He warned that the situation was more complicated than it seemed, revealing that the troublemaker was none other than their junior, the spike-haired boy. Back at the school, the demon examined a map, noting that according to his plan, this was his final target. He released a fireball at the school gate, but it was blocked by bamboo. The teacher confronted him, questioning why he was attempting to burn the flowers and trees he had personally planted. The demon laughed, claiming he had finally encountered someone strong. Bamboo rats attacked him, but he blocked them effortlessly. Suddenly, vines restrained him. The teacher struck him and instructed him to behave until the authorities arrived. Laughing, the demon scoffed at such measures and instantly broke free. When warned that continued aggression could destroy his body, he revealed that it did not matter because the current body was merely a host. He declared he would take over another body and began to attack again. MC intervened just in time, blocking the demon's strike. The flame spirit praised him, noting that both his posture and heat control were perfect. MC demanded to know who the demon was and what he wanted. The demon shrugged, saying that more chaos only benefited him, providing an opportunity to find a stronger body. Pressing his sword into the ground, he unleashed a domain expansion. Laughing, he explained that the formation could control and sacrifice everyone within the area to augment his power. Soon, the expansion began to spread, causing people in the vicinity to lose consciousness. Simultaneously, officers from the Traditional Arts Protection Network mobilized toward the affected area. Meanwhile, the possessed spike-haired boy continued wreaking havoc. All the people had been turned into living dead, and that was the true strength of the demon. For the MC and the others, it was impossible to strike innocent civilians, but for the demon, they were nothing more than tools. Under his control, every person became both his shield and his source of food, for he could drain their vital essence whenever he pleased. Just then, officers from the Department of Traditional Arts Protection appeared. They shouted the name of the chicken-headed boy, their voices piercing through the fog of demonic control. The sound jolted him awake within his own body. Confused, he looked around, wondering what had happened to him and where he even was. As the demon fought, the boy suddenly shouted from within, demanding, "Get out of my body!" The sudden resistance distracted the demon, who roared at him to shut up. Taking advantage of the opening, the MC struck the demon hard in the stomach. He then turned to his teacher, urgently telling him to evacuate all the civilians who had been possessed before more harm could be done. The demon sneered at the boy's defiance. Appearing directly before his soul, he growled that it was disrespectful to resist one's ancestor. He seized him by the spirit, declaring that if the boy became obedient, he might grant him mercy. The demon explained his philosophy. Terror was a transferable energy, and it was his cultivation method. By spreading terror, he could grow stronger. He vowed to massacre everyone present, then slip into another body, hide, and prepare for another round of slaughter. Looking the boy in the eyes, he asked whether he craved the complete demonic cultivation method. If he wished, the demon could pass it down to him. He continued in a low, tempting voice, claiming that he had awakened after 1,000 years to find no relatives, no friends, only loneliness. Yet the boy was still the last living descendant of his lineage. Useless perhaps, but his only bloodline. The demon promised he could guide him and look after him, appealing to his blood connection. But the chicken-headed boy bit his lips and spat out his defiance. He told the demon to shut up and get lost, calling him a heretic. "How dare you disrespect your ancestor?" the demon thundered. But the boy firmly replied that the demon was no ancestor of his. He explained that his upbringing had been guided by righteous people, and his friends were people of righteousness. His life had nothing to do with this so-called ancestor. Then he began to chant, drawing strength from his conviction. Hatred filled his words. As he drew out his sword, the demon was startled, realizing that the boy was regaining control over his body. The boy declared that he would never allow himself to be controlled, and if it came to it, he would kill both himself and the demon together. The demon's expression shifted from anger to panic as he saw the boy raising the blade against his own body. Fearing true destruction, the demon quickly abandoned him and slipped into the body of a nearby ordinary person instead. At that exact moment, the officers from the department arrived behind him, unleashing their combined formation to attack. The bald-headed officer rushed to check on the chicken-headed boy, while the MC turned to his teacher and asked who these mysterious people were. He hadn't even noticed their presence until now. The teacher reassured him, saying they could rest easy, for these officers were good people. Meanwhile, the department officers moved to capture the demon using their specialized formation. The demon realized that the uncultivated body he had taken was difficult to handle. His only option was to create chaos and use it as cover to escape. Expanding his demonic aura, he he released the civilians from his control. As their consciousness returned, they began screaming and running in panic, creating a chaotic distraction. The demon smirked, pleased with the distraction, and prepared to flee. But just as the officers began to falter, a voice shouted out, "Don't get distracted." It was the chicken-headed boy, who had risen to his feet once again. He urged them to suppress the demon with all their strength. Proclaiming that he understood his family's cultivation technique best, he revealed that their souls were particularly strong, skilled in escape, and difficult to harm. The one true restraint against them was fire. Igniting flames on his sword, he vowed to deliver the final blow. The people around him gasped in shock, unable to believe what they were seeing, fire blazing from the boy's weapon. Raising his blade, he declared that he would protect the world and walk a different path from his ancestors. With that, he launched his fiery strike, overwhelming the demon. The battle ended with the demon's defeat. Exhausted, the chicken-headed boy collapsed unconscious. At that moment, the police arrived. An officer wearing glasses stepped out of a car, ordering his subordinates to disperse the crowd and erase the memories of all ordinary citizens present. As he walked over to the unconscious boy, he calmly sipped his tea, chanting ancient words that formed a magical barrier, and then began sealing away the demon's sword. The flame spirit was astonished. That type of magic had supposedly been lost decades ago, yet this officer wielded it with ease. The officer bowed slightly to the flame spirit, thanking it for its timely assistance and expressing deep gratitude. Afterward, he dismissed the other officers. Later, back at the department, all the officers stood nervously before the spectacled officer as he sat drinking tea. Suddenly, he slammed his cup down and scolded them harshly. Their sense of danger was too dull, their crisis awareness too poor. How could they possibly work like this? The demonic cultivator officers shouted back in frustration, asking if he was looking to get skinned alive and beaten. But the head officer responded coldly, warning them not to cultivate demonic arts during such moments. Otherwise, he could not feel their true emotions. The officers then pleaded with him, admitting they had caused a huge commotion and felt embarrassed. They begged not to be dismissed from their positions. The head officer reprimanded them further, saying they should report unusual activity directly to the organization instead of acting on their own. They were supposed to trust the institution, which had tranquilizer darts, advanced science, and refined magic techniques. Expelling a spirit from the boy's body should have been easy without endangering him. Instead, their recklessness had led to videos of yesterday's fight leaking online, threatening to expose the cultivation world to ordinary people. Finally, he told them to write self-criticisms, docked their bonuses for 3 months, and ordered them to clean up their mess. They were to scour the internet, delete every video, track down those who uploaded them, and hypnotize them into forgetting everything. The bald-headed officer hesitated, then asked what should be done about the MC they had been supervising. The head officer replied that it was indeed an important matter. He would send someone else, someone familiar with the MC, someone who could protect him. The scene shifted elsewhere. In another location, Jiao sat at her desk, drooling over MC's photos as usual. She browsed every single picture of him in her group chats, obsessively scrolling. People in the chat were buzzing about last night's incident, and someone even sent a video claiming MC had been there. Jiao's eyes widened in worry. Was MC all right? She needed to ask him. Just then, her phone buzzed with a new notification. A stranger messaged her, claiming he possessed countless photos of MC from his childhood. Curious and cautious, Xiao replied that they would talk later. But the stranger immediately sent her a photo of MC as a child, then a few more. Startled, Xiao demanded to know who he was. The man responded smugly, saying he had over 1,000 private photos of MC when he was young. He could give them all to her, but only if she agreed to do him a small favor. Meanwhile, back at the department office, the spectacled officer sat calmly sipping tea while facing the bound demon spirit. He questioned the spirit coldly, asking why it had recklessly charged into a crowd of civilians using such destructive magic. Even if it were a 1,000-year-old entity, did it not understand the danger of exposing cultivators in such a manner? He demanded to know the demon's purpose. The demon sneered, telling him to mind his own business. He would never reveal his true intentions. The officer's expression darkened. He warned that he would refine the demon's soul instead, eroding its consciousness bit by bit until every hidden secret was laid bare. Far away, the MC sat quietly eating a simple meal. He spoke to the flame spirit about everything that had happened. He admitted that he had realized the existence of experts in the world, an entire organization beyond anything he had imagined. That feeling of insignificance, the inability to intervene, was suffocating. He had only felt that way twice in his life, and he needed to grow stronger, fast. The flame spirit was surprised by his words. Twice? There was another time you felt powerless? It asked. The MC nodded, recalling his childhood. The memory pulled him back 13 years. Children played together, laughing and chatting about what they wanted to be in the future. One boy shouted that he wanted to be a dad. The group of kids immediately teased him, saying there was already a dad among them, Big Daddy Shitian, their protector, the MC himself. They all hugged him, chanting Daddy Daddy joyfully. Just then, another child ran to MC in tears, saying someone had beaten him and was hogging their slide. Earlier that day, The boy had fought with another classmate from a different class over the slide, each demanding their turn. When they separated in tears, the other child vowed to return with his class mom, while MC's classmate swore to bring Big Daddy Shitian. The students grew nervous. Wasn't the opposing class known for having a fearsome figure, someone they called the Queen Mother? Could MC really defeat her? Some of the kids even whispered eagerly, wondering who would be stronger between the two. Soon, both sides confronted each other at the playground. As the rival child pointed at MC, a girl from the other class stepped forward. At the same time, one of MC's classmates pointed back at her. To everyone's surprise, the two rivals were almost mirror opposites, both stubborn and proud. They clashed fiercely, but for the first time in his young life, MC was defeated. There was someone stronger than him. From then on, the two fought constantly, almost daily. Over the course of a year, every single fight ended the same way. MC's lost. On her 31st victory, the girl demanded that he call her Big Sister. MC, stubborn as always, refused. Big Sister? My foot. I'm older than you. You should call me Big Brother. The girl laughed at his spirit. She admitted that no other kid in the world could withstand even one of her punches, yet MC had endured 3. She acknowledged his toughness before leaving, declaring that one day he would call her Big Sister. But MC was devastated. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't defeat her. His classmates teased him, saying they hadn't seen him win a single fight in half a year. One girl nearby giggled that the two were actually a perfect match, one like a dad, the other like a mom. Together, they made everyone feel safe. Another boy immediately objected, saying that was absolutely impossible. Determined, MC began eating more and more, hoping to bulk up and overpower her. But during a checkup, the doctor delivered crushing news. MC's strange metabolism caused him to gain weight from anything he ate, making it nearly impossible to slim down. Worse, the doctor warned that his health would deteriorate, and he would struggle to make friends. Bullying seemed inevitable. Later, when he met the girl again, she approached with excitement, ready for another rematch. But MC refused. He told her he wouldn't fight anymore. This time, he was here to say goodbye. He explained about the doctor's warning, about his decision to lose weight, and that kindergarten was ending. They were headed for senior classes, destined to part ways. Fighting her would no longer be possible. The girl froze, then began to cry. What do you mean you have no friends? Aren't I your friend? She shouted. She sobbed uncontrollably, telling him that in the whole world, he was the only one who could withstand her punches. Overwhelmed, she ran off in tears, while MC chased after her, begging her to consider him a friend too. That was the last time they met. Back in the present, MC told the flame spirit that she had been too strong, too fast. In the end, he could never catch up to her. After graduating from kindergarten, the MC never saw that girl again. He only heard bits about her from his mother, who mentioned that she was a distant relative. That explained why she wore the same fat chain that was also engraved into his own body. Later, she went abroad with her family for elementary school. Though they never met in person after that, the MC recalled that they stayed in frequent contact, often talking about weight loss during their conversations. The spirit, curious, asked him if she had also been trying to lose weight. In response, the MC pulled out a picture of the girl and showed it, saying, "This is her. This is what she looks like now." Meanwhile, somewhere else in the city, a different scene unfolded. A group of thugs cornered a girl, pestering her and asking unnecessary questions. They tried to threaten her, but she didn't flinch. With sharp defiance, she asked why they were even trying to intimidate her. Before they could answer, she grabbed the bald thug, spun him around, and slammed him into the ground. The rest of them rushed at her, but she effortlessly took them down as well. Back with the MC, he continued telling the spirit that this girl was none other than his cousin, Shiahwa. He explained that they shared the same genes, but unlike him, she had trained far harder. The MC himself had been exercising daily since he was 6 years old, building strength over the years. Even so, he admitted that Shiahwa trained 10 times harder than he ever did, and the result was astonishing. While he had only recently transformed, she had already completely reshaped herself. Just then, the doorbell rang. The MC, still speaking with the spirit, casually mentioned how his cousin had actually succeeded in losing weight through sheer effort. But when he opened the door, he froze. Standing there in front of him was Shiahwa herself. Seeing her in person left him emotional. His voice trembled as he said, You really did lose weight. And you're calling me brother." Shiahwa smiled and handed him a gift she had brought. When the MC unwrapped it, she explained that it was bearskin. Calmly, she told him that during her cultivation training, she had fought and killed 7 bears with her bare hands, and this was the proof of her strength. She then revealed the real reason she had come back. She was here to protect him. She knew he had also started cultivating. In fact, she had seen the viral video of his recent fight, the very battle where he faced a cultivator, and she recognized the final opponent who appeared at the end. That man had been her own mentor. Xiaohua's tone grew serious as she warned the MC about a rising threat. She explained that the demon cultivators who had appeared last time were not alone. Similar beings had started awakening all over the world. Each time, they caused chaos, possessing humans and leaving destruction in their wake. Their targets were always the same: Cultivators who weighed more than 200 pounds. Those with sufficient physique were possessed, while others, weaker in body, were brutally slaughtered. She told the MC that the one he had fought earlier was just a newly awakened cultivator, inexperienced and sloppy. But now, a far more dangerous one was loose in the city. This one was infamous, a vicious demon cultivator known as the Rainy Night Fat Guy serial killer. His pattern was terrifying. He struck only on rainy nights, and so far, he had already killed over 20 overweight people. Right now, he was hiding somewhere within the city. The MC listened intently as Shiahwa explained the method of his attacks. The demon would approach fat men while pretending to be someone trustworthy. Once they let him in, he would unleash his magic, sucking away all their fat and vital energy. She recalled one recent incident. A man had been attacked and rushed to the hospital, but miraculously survived. When he awoke, everyone around him was stunned. He had become incredibly handsome, his body transformed after losing all his fat overnight. That man went on to become a celebrity, quickly rising in fame and wealth. Shiahwa admitted with a hint of jealousy that despite her hours of grueling work every day, she still earned less than him. But she also warned her cousin that this case was extremely rare. The survival rate of such attacks was almost non-existent. Most victims ended up drained to death, their lifeless bodies piled in grotesque heaps. She confessed she was worried for the MC, but upon seeing how slim and sharp he now looked, she felt relieved. Still, curiosity lingered, and she asked how he had managed to lose so much weight and when he had started cultivating. Before he could answer, the doorbell rang again. A voice from outside claimed it was a delivery. The MC, puzzled, asked Shiahwa if she had ordered anything. She shook her head. When he opened the door, his blood ran cold. Standing there was a man disguised as a delivery worker, but his aura was unmistakable. It was the demon cultivator. Feigning confusion, the man muttered under his breath. According to his investigation, this house should have had a high-quality fat person, yet the MC standing before him was clearly slim. Shrugging it off, he sneered, "It doesn't matter. You still have fat energy within you." Then without hesitation, he tried to suck the fat straight from the MC's body. But the MC had anticipated this. He instantly channeled his cultivation, erecting a barrier that blocked the attack. Even so, he could feel the weight of the strike. It wasn't weaker than the last cultivator he had fought. Before he could counter, Shiahwa stepped forward. She shouted for him to stand aside, then lifted the nearby table and hurled it at the demon, sending him flying across the room. In a blur of movement, she charged forward and unleashed her cultivation power, pummeling him relentlessly until she had struck him over 100 times. Finally, the demon collapsed unconscious. When he awoke, he found himself tied up, with the MC and Shiahwa looming over him. The interrogation began. They demanded to know why he was possessing fat people and absorbing their energy. The demon spat defiantly, refusing to answer. The MC's expression hardened as he warned, "Watch your mouth when speaking to my sister. Do you want to be beaten again? If you make her angry, she'll tear this whole house down with you inside." To his surprise, Shiahwa laughed, clearly pleased. She gave the MC a thumbs up and said, "That's the kind of support I like to hear. This will be fun." Without wasting more time, she headbutted the demon and growled, "Enough nonsense. I'll beat you until you confess." Under the brutal assault, the demon finally broke. He shouted that they didn't know who they were dealing with. He revealed that there were 10 of them in total, all serving an ancient demonic god. This being, once one of the most supreme entities in existence, was known as the Son of Earth, a god powerful enough to lift mountains. His mere gaze could burn mortals into ashes. The demon confessed that ever since he began worshipping this god, he was plagued with drug-induced dreams of its terrifying image. He then explained how his organization had discovered the god's tomb. Their leader, after years of hardship, had located the site. They excavated it, fighting through endless traps and mechanisms until they uncovered ancient divine works buried inside. Among the findings was a cultivation method, written in a nearly incomprehensible language. This method taught how to transform yang qi into spiritual energy. Humans naturally carried yang qi, but those prone to gaining weight carried far more than average. By exploiting this, the cultists could grow stronger either by burning their own fat or draining it from others. The demon smirked and explained that this was why they targeted fat cultivators. It wasn't just about strengthening themselves, it was part of a larger plan. They were gathering fat energy to resurrect their god, whom they worshipped as the Lord of Flames, the first cultivator in history, a being symbolizing both light and heat. But his arrogant speech was cut short by the sudden appearance of the flame spirit. Furious, the spirit cursed him for corrupting his cultivation method, twisting it into something grotesque. He revealed that the one they worshipped as their god was actually him. After his death, he had deliberately left behind a copy of his cultivation method in the tomb. The cultists had desecrated his grave and misinterpreted his legacy, turning it into something monstrous. The flame spirit kicked the demon, demanding to know who had given them permission to open his tomb. Terrified, the demon cultivator wept, asking if this truly was the ancient god he had seen in his nightly visions. In desperation, he offered information. He admitted that all the fat people they had captured were still alive, being kept at the city center stadium. The flame spirit coldly warned him that if he hadn't spoken, he would have been roasted alive on the spot. Shaking, the demon asked what he should believe in now, if the ancient god he had worshipped did not exist. The spirit's reply was sharp and mocking. Believe in science. Far away, the scene shifted to the stadium where dozens of fat captives were being forced to run laps, whipped by cultivators who shouted at them to burn more fat. This will nourish our god, one sneered. Among their ranks, an old man warned that they were drawing too much attention. Their actions were brazen, and already law enforcement agencies were investigating them. He reminded them that only 10 had awakened worldwide, and already, their second-ranked member had been captured, while their seventh, the delivery man, was missing. But another cultist mocked him, saying he had grown timid because he was possessing the body of an old man. To prove his arrogance, he pulled out an object, the belly band of the flame spirit. He claimed it was a divine relic he had stolen from the ruins, keeping it close at all times for protection. He even sniffed it, saying that ever since he had slept with it under his pillow, he had dreamt nightly of the blurry face of the ancient god. Unbeknownst to them, the flame spirit himself was nearby, observing. His face twisted with rage. Suddenly, he attacked, kicking the cultist across the room. Enraged and embarrassed, he shouted, "Don't sniff my undergarment, return it immediately." Meanwhile, at a traditional craft protection building, the chicken-headed officer was approached by his bespectacled senior. They discussed recent developments and decided it was time to act. With determination, they prepared their equipment, planning a large-scale arrest to finally bring an end to these demonic cultivator incidents. Back at the cult's base, the old man sensed intruders. The cultists braced themselves, but the flame spirit stepped forward and shouted, "Intruders? I am the god you've been worshipping." One of the cultists dared to claim he was just a spirit, only to be slapped across the face. The MC then whispered to the flame spirit, asking why he had jumped down so recklessly just over an undergarment. The spirit scoffed and replied that his clothes had always been kept as souvenirs by countless admirers, but this piece was different. It was given to me by my wife. Of course, I have to get it back. That's the basic quality of a simp. His tone quickly darkened. Something about this place felt wrong. He pointed toward the corner, where a coffin lay. He realized that the cultists weren't worshipping him at all. They were trying to resurrect a corpse. His body might have been tampered with, and the thought of it filled him with unease. As he spoke, the cultivators closed in, their hands glowing with deadly magic, preparing for battle.
With that, the story comes to an end. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to Senpai Respawn